Hello, I hope you've had a good week and are ready to take a turn in the TARDIS as it's time for another Doctor Who Pilots special. On the pilot principle, we've rewound the clock and looked back over the pilot episode for each Doctor since the 2005 revival of the British Sci-Fi series, all in the lead up to the 60th anniversary 3-episode special. And listeners, that time is now. But before we get into the 14th pilot, let's remind ourselves of Doctors past. So the 2005 revival was kicked off with the 9th Doctor, who was played by Christopher Eccleston over 1 series. The 10th Doctor was played by David Tennant over 3 series. The 11th Doctor, my Doctor, was played by Matt Smith over 3 series. The 12th Doctor was played by Peter Capaldi over 3 series. And finally, the 13th Doctor was played by Jodie Whittaker, also over 3 series. Now, at the end of the 13th Doctor's reign, she regenerated in a twist I did not see coming. She regenerated into the face of the 10th Doctor, who I suppose at this point will henceforth be known as the 14th Doctor. Trippy, right? Well, what else can be expected from time and space, and it provided a lovely buzz towards the 60th anniversary celebrations. Before we get into what the 14th Doctor got up to during his pilot episode, here's what to expect from this episode of the pilot principle. As per, I'll start by running through the credits, who wrote, directed and starred in the 14th pilot before breaking down the first 10 minutes. After that, I'll look at what's new within the 60th anniversary pilot episode before discussing my favourite parts and essentially rounding up from there. We're kind of winging it, but that's not a bad thing, so let's just jump right into the credits. The 14th pilot aired on the 25th of November 2023 with the pilot title of The Star Beast. The episode length is a BBC hour, aka 57 minutes, and The Star Beast was written by Russell T Davies from a story by Pat Mills and Dave Gibbons. Now, Mr. Davies was the Doctor Who showrunner from 2005 to 2010, which means he oversaw the show's revival with Christopher Eccleston and left at the end of David Tennant's initial spin in the TARDIS. He was also responsible for the Doctor Who spin-off shows Torchwood and The Sarah Jane Adventures. Russell T Davies is also known as the showrunner and writer of Channel 4's Queer as Folk, as well as Cucumber, Banana and Tofu, which share a fictional universe. And more recently for Channel 4, he was the writer and creator of It's a Sin, which was released in 2021. That seems so bloody long ago. I feel like I just watched that series last year. For BBC, Davies has written A Very English Scandal and Years and Years, which was one of my favourite series from 2019. And finally for ITV, he wrote Nolly. Quickly on Pat Mills and Dave Gibbons, who have story credits. Mills, along with someone called John Wagner, wrote, while Gibbons did the artwork for a comic strip published in Doctor Who Weekly in 1980, which was titled Doctor Who and the Star Beast. And it's from this that Russell T Davies adapted this 60th anniversary pilot episode. The Star Beast was directed by Rachel Talalay, and she, I believe, is the first female Doctor Who pilot director since the 2005 revival. Surprisingly, to me at least, Talalay is American. However, looking at her credits, Doctor Who is right up her alley. I'm just going to run through a list of programmes for which she has directed episodes, which include Supernatural, Iron Fist, American Gods, and a whole host of Greg Berlanti shows, which includes The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina and Riverdale, as well as his DC TV slate, Doom Patrol, DC Legends of Tomorrow, Supergirl, Superman and Lois, and The Flash. So yeah, I'd say she is more than familiar with the family-friendly sci-fi genre. Also, really randomly, Talalay directed an episode of Unfabulous in 2006, which was a Nickelodeon series starring Emma Roberts, the theme tune for which lives in my head rent-free. Moving on to cast for the pilot episode, the 14th Doctor is of course being played by David Tennant. Now, Tennant has played Barty Crouch Jr. in Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, D.I. Alec Hardy on Chris Chibnall's ITV series Broadchurch, Kilgrave in Netflix's Jessica Jones, Crowley on Amazon Prime Video's Good Omens, Reverend Harry Watling in the Stephen Moffat series Inside Man, and Alexander Litvinenko in the ITV drama Litvinenko. Onto the companion, we have Catherine Tate as Donna Noble. Catherine Tate has been around since the early 90s as an actress, but it's her comedy I mostly know her for. She had a sketch show called The Catherine Tate Show that ran from 2004 to 2009. She has also starred in The Office, the American version, interestingly enough, where she was for 3 series. Most recently, she starred in the Nan movie in 2022, and in 2023, she starred in the series Queen of Oz, which she developed and wrote. In terms of special faces featured in the 14th pilot, we first have Yasmin Finney, who plays Rose Noble, Donna's daughter. Finney hasn't been in much. She has had a main role in the Netflix comedy drama Heartstopper as Elle Argent and was a guest judge on RuPaul's Drag Race UK. And finally, we have Carl Collins, who plays Donna's husband and Rose's dad, Sean Temple. Collins is known for a long-running role on Channel 4's Hollyoaks, where he played Lewis Loveday, and most recently he starred in BBC One's The Responder, great series, the 2023 DC movie The Flash, not such a great film, and Disney Plus stars Culprits, which I have in fact done an episode on the pilot principle, so make sure to give that a listen. Lastly to mention, if you didn't watch The Star Beast live, it is available to stream on BBC iPlayer if you live in the UK, and on Disney Plus if you don't, which is great for the international Whovians. Here's the synopsis for The Star Beast, the 14th Doctor's pilot episode. The Doctor is dealing with having a new face that's an old face, and running into a familiar face and facing danger when an alien needing protection crash lands onto Earth. Now, before we look at the first 10 minutes, let's look at a couple of fun facts, though fun is not guaranteed. Firstly, the new Doctor Who logo that appears in the title sequence is, in fact, a revamped version of one that was used between 1973 and 1980. This would have been during John Pertwee's third Doctor and Tom Baker's fourth Doctor. Though the idea has been floated in the past, David Tennant is the first actor to portray two different incarnations of the Doctor over multiple episodes. Okay, now let's get into the nitty-gritty by looking at the first 10 minutes of The Star Beast. Looking at the first 10 minutes is just something we do over here on the pilot principle, so check out one of the more recent episodes to find out why. To begin, we get a bit of a previously on Doctor Who, as the Doctor tells us that he once had a best friend, Donna Noble. They travelled through time and space together, but to save the universe, Donna took the mind of a Time Lord into her head, something that she couldn't survive unless the Doctor took away all her memories, including the ones where they travelled together. Now, if Donna ever remembers the Doctor, she will die. The Doctor's recap is cut in with Donna Noble. She is sat at her kitchen table. She's happy, but she feels like something is missing. She's always dreamt of impossible things, but these dreams have become more frequent, which makes her believe something is coming. It's all very serious. But post recap, we get a lovely little title sequence. It's fun. It reminds me of being on a roller coaster as the TARDIS careens through the Milky Way and through time, finishing on that callback title card I mentioned earlier. Then we're in London, Camden to be specific, because I'm a Londoner and I know these things. The Doctor walks out of his TARDIS, taking it all in when he spots a woman who is carrying a pile of boxes which covers her face. He races over to help, removing the boxes to reveal her face. It's Donna. He tries to put the boxes back and walk away, but if you know Donna Noble, she's not having any of that. He comes back to help and he meets her daughter, Rose, and the name just completely throws him, and if you've watched Doctor Who, then you understand why. Introductions are cut short when something crashes from the sky, a spaceship, which Donna manages to completely miss. She and Rose head home while the Doctor hails a cab to get him to the crash site. It just so happens that the cab driver is Donna's husband, Sean. On the ride over, the Doctor gets the 411 on what he's missed in Donna's life since about 2006, which includes her giving away a lottery win of £166 million. Sure, it's probably the most unbelievable thing in this episode, and there were aliens. Anyway, he gets to the crash site, and the crash site is filled with unit officials who secured the space and the spaceship that didn't crash, but parked. We then get a bit of Donna and Rose's life at home. Firstly, Donna chatting with her mum Shirley, bringing up her granddad Wilf, who used to talk about aliens and UFOs before stopping abruptly when she lost her memories. This is the point where her mother brings up the quote-unquote breakdown Donna had, which is what they chalk up to the so-called cause of her memory loss. And yet Donna still wonders about what she's lost, what's missing. Meanwhile, some kid called Fudge appears to drag Rose down to the park where a piece of the spaceship fell. Curious, she goes to see for herself, and they find the piece of spaceship that looks like an escape pod is empty. Rose runs home to grab her phone, but doesn't make it that far when she finds the alien hiding among the bins. It's best described as a cross between a Furby and a Baby Yoda, with maybe a dash of gremlin thrown in for spice. This is the Meep. The Meep speaks fluent English and tells Rose that they fell from the sky and hurt their hand, and there are others, monsters, that fell with them who are hunting the Meep and wants to kill them. Fudge, in fact, comes across a couple of these monsters, but they let him go as they've got a bigger objective, finding the Meep. And that is the first 10-ish minutes, with some liberties taken because I don't think the recap bit counted or the intro in this case. As we've gone forward, even though in a way we've gone backwards, I thought I'd look at what's new on Doctor Who. Firstly, the Doctor. So this rendition of the Doctor, even though he slipped into his former habits again, such as walking with his hand in his pockets and a bit of a swagger, popping on a pair of glasses when things got analytical, he felt different. He felt older, which is a good thing because he is older. He's been through so many adventures, losses, wins and defeats since the last time he's had that face. Donna is every bit as Donna is. As we all remember, she is fiercely protective of the people she loves, calls out crap and wants to help. It was great hearing her use some of the phrases she used when she'd known the Doctor before she lost her memory, like pointing out how skinny he is and referring to him as a spaceman. Deep down, it's the same Donna, even though she doesn't remember that part of her life. I was incredibly fascinated by the screwdriver in the 14th pilot because the screwdriver can do a lot more than the last time I've seen it. So someone correct me if I'm wrong because I've only seen the first series of the 3 series the 13th Doctor did. But in this episode, the Star Beast, the 14th Doctor's pilot, the Doctor was able to use it to create, albeit slowly, a bulletproof barrier, and then he used it to read diagnostics like it was a computer. And to be honest, it's hilarious how impressed I am by how high-tech the screwdriver is now, because in a way, it's always supposed to have been this advanced. We just never saw that physically manifested. I mean, the Doctor would just wave it around and then read the base of the screwdriver like it had a bloody screen. There was no screen on there. So it's good to see that the screwdriver has evolved. And the last thing that's new is the TARDIS, which has a new interior, which is very minimalistic. I'm talking white with circles, no seats. That's it. It's a blank canvas, but it works. It's reminding us that this is an interim Doctor, that things won't stay like this for long, and this adventure, his adventure, will come to an end. Speeding on down to my favourite line from the pilot. Actually, I have 2 favourite lines from the pilot episode, and they're both part of the same sequence of dialogue, which takes place in the first 10 minutes. When the Doctor is commandeering Sean's cab, he flashes him his psychic paper and says he's a Grand Master of the Knowledge. Sean says, "That says Grand Mistress." The Doctor shakes his psychic paper and tells it, "Oh, catch up." And it's a lovely little nod to the 13th Doctor. And I love it in these Doctor Who pilots when they salute their predecessor. Okay, my next favourite line, which is less of a line and more of a word, happens right after. The Doctor hops into the back of the cab and yells one of his catchphrases, "Allons-y!" And it automatically slapped you in the face with nostalgia. I mean, nothing's changed. It's just the Doctor, this Doctor with this face, running around and saving the day as per usual. And just all the feels. In terms of how the 14th pilot made me feel, first and foremost, I want to say that I think the story was a lot of fun. I am currently rewatching Matt Smith's 11th Doctor's series, but I actually haven't watched a new episode of Doctor Who since about 2017. But I thought the plot surrounding the Meep was easy to follow, and as an alien, the Meep was visually very interesting and it didn't feel overly Power Ranger costumed, if you know what I mean. Events were a dash contrived, but not in a lazy way, and the Dr. Donna element wove in really well to feel part of the plot and not its own separate entity, which is where I felt Peter Capaldi's pilot went wrong. As I said, I'm currently rewatching Matt Smith's 11th Doctor, and during the end of Series 5, after an issue with an exploding TARDIS and the cracks across space and time being repaired, Amy, the Doctor's companion and best friend, forgets the Doctor. However, there is a part of her that feels like something is missing, and that's what kept coming to mind while I was watching The Star Beast, because Donna had the exact same feeling, which felt kind of, not circular exactly, but reflective. I mean, if you haven't gathered by now, then pretty much anything that links back to Matt Smith's 11th Doctor makes me incredibly happy. But I think the reflective comment isn't too much of a leap. I mean, heck, the Doctor clearly chooses his best friends according to hair colour. It's not quite time to regenerate because the 14th Doctor will be sticking around for another 2 episodes following the Star Beast, Wild Blue Yonder and The Giggle. Along with the Star Beast, the trio make up the 60th anniversary celebration, but on Christmas Day, we'll have a new Doctor, a new companion, and the start of a brand new adventure. which means make sure to follow the Pilot Principle on Instagram, Threads, and Twitter/X at Pilot Principle, and on your audio streamer of choice so you know when the next Doctor Who special drops, where we'll be discussing Ncuti Gatwa's introduction as the 15th Doctor. Until then,